All right, guys, I'm back, and today I want to talk about the possibility of a major snowstorm for the eastern United States. This started showing up a few days ago on the forecast models, and things are kind of coming together now in a way that it looks like this storm is going to happen. The question is, where is it going to go? So before I get into that, I wanted to remind you of my pro site. If you haven't joined yet, I'd love for you to join at www.patreon.com/Ohio Valley Weather. Now let's get into the forecast models and start looking at what is happening with this possible snowstorm. All right, so this is the CFS model. And what I want you to notice, first of all, is this big area of moisture that is coming in from the Pacific Ocean today. This is coming in this morning. And this area of moisture is what's going to develop into a snowstorm that's going to come across the United States. Now, as I move this forward into Thursday, you can see there's a little bit of stuff going on over here, but not too much. But notice what's happening here. This snowstorm is strengthening, get some heavy snow up here in the Pacific Northwest, and then it moves over into central Canada where it seems to weaken a little bit, but don't be fooled by that. There's still a lot of moisture up in there. Now, from this point, the question is, where is this thing going to go? And originally, a few days ago, it looked like it might track right across the Ohio Valley and maybe just go out to sea like this, which would have made it your basic Alberta clipper, maybe would have brought us a few inches of snow, but nothing too major. A lot of people saw that and actually got excited thinking, hey, maybe we're going to get some snow in Ohio. But it doesn't look like that's going to materialize now. And people started to think, oh, man, we're not going to get anything. Well, that might not be the case, okay? Because let's take a look at what's happening now. So if we look at what the forecast models are showing now, instead of it coming across the Great Lakes, it looks like this is going to drop down, way down into the south. And this is largely because of this high pressure up here over eastern Canada. That strong high is forcing that snowstorm to drop way into the south. And initially it looks like, okay, so it's going to miss us, right? It's going around us. But then it starts to come up the other side, and you can see snow here being pushed into the Ohio Valley. And the heavy snow here, it looks like would be in Pennsylvania, at least with this model, but we would still get a good bit of snow in the Ohio Valley. And you see this thing really bombs out, drops down to 983 millibars. That would qualify this as a bomb cyclone over the northeastern United States. Up here in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, they're going to get a lot of snow from this storm. Now let's look at what the European model is showing. Let's back this up. All right, so now this is today again. Once again, we see this moisture coming in to the Pacific Northwest, and as we move it forward, it almost seems like it disappears a little bit there, but it's still there, and there's still a lot of moisture in that air. It's just very cold up there. And now we see a similar scenario dropping down, and here's that high pressure over eastern Canada. The European model has it a little further to the west, and so this actually pushing this down even more into the central United States. Taking a look at that, takes that low all the way down to Louisiana, and we're starting to get snow even into Arkansas, according to the European model. Again, keeps it very far south, gets snow into Arkansas, Tennessee, even some snow into Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina. That's pretty far south. Then with the European model, we see that low comes up the East Coast, pretty much hugging the coast, and you can see almost totally missing the Ohio Valley, except for maybe parts of West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And if we go even further, notice Again, very low, a bomb cyclone down at 983 millibars. But notice with the European model, we have that low even off the coast of New Jersey, close to Long Island. So it's taking that low really far to the east. And so in this scenario, the Ohio Valley would get very little. But the northeastern states, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, still looking at a large amount of snow. And that's looking pretty confident at this point that these states are really going to get hammered with some snow up there. Now let's go to the GFS model. The GFS model, once again, you see that moisture coming in from the Pacific Ocean. And by Friday, you could see it almost disappears, but it's still there. It's still in there. Here's that high pressure. Now, again, look how much further west that high pressure is. And that's going to be a theme here with the GFS, pushing everything kind of further to the west. So it's dropping down just like we saw before. Down here, we're even catching it into Texas. So again, further west than the other models that we saw. And that theme is going to continue here as the GFS keeps this storm further to the west. And as you can see, with the GFS, we still have the center of the storm over Tennessee now and Kentucky, and that's going to push some heavy snow into the Ohio Valley if the GFS is right. As we move forward, you see, yeah, the Ohio Valley just gets hammered if the GFS is right. And notice the low now has kind of transferred over to the East Coast, but we still have this strong high pressure. You can just barely see it there, a strong high pressure over the Atlantic Ocean. And so that's going to keep that low pressure further to the west. And remember on the last one, we saw that it was kind of over Long Island, really off the coast. But here, the GFS takes it right up through central Pennsylvania. And again, that's really going to throw a lot of snow back into the Ohio Valley. Now, the other thing, though, again, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and even into Maine as I push it forward, yeah, they're still going to get hammered. I don't think that's a question at this point. Those states are going to get a lot of snow. But so we have these two different scenarios now that could play out. Let's take a look at the GDPS. This is the Canadian model. With the Canadian model, once again, same thing. We see that moisture coming in today from the Pacific Ocean. As we push out to Friday, there it is, keeps it a little bit stronger. The Canadian model has that high pressure in a similar position to what the GFS had. And so that's going to also keep things further to the west. And again, look, we have that low dropping all the way down into Texas, pretty far west, down into Louisiana. And by the way, keeping that low so far south, the models that take this south, that's really going to allow this storm to pick up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, which is typical of your big nor'easters, your big snowstorms. They're going to start down here really far south so we can pull up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And so the Canadian model takes a similar track to the GFS, but it's transferring that low over to the coast a little sooner. But we still have strong high pressure over here. And so that's going to keep the low inland. And if it stays inland, like over central Pennsylvania, again, that is going to throw a lot of snow back into the Ohio Valley. Now, again, with those northeastern states, yeah, again, tons of snow, bomb cyclone, this one at 984 millibars. Either way, whether it's 983 or 984, that is a strong snowstorm. This could be like blizzard conditions for these states up here. So again, what does this mean for the Ohio Valley? Well, if we look at the the European model, these are the snow totals being forecasted by the European model. Now, remember, this is the one that took the low off the coast. So your higher totals are much further to the east, up through Virginia, Maryland, central Pennsylvania. We're looking at 1 to 2 feet of snow if the European model is right. But for most of the Ohio Valley, almost nothing. Little bit here in West Virginia, we get up 3-4 inches, maybe up to 6 inches over here around Morgantown, but most of the Ohio Valley would not see anything if the European model is right. But now let's look at the GFS model. Remember, with the GFS model, this is the one that had the low more inland going up through central Pennsylvania. And so this is going to throw more snow back into the Ohio Valley. And you can see around Wheeling, West Virginia here, we're looking at about a foot of snow, even around Zanesville, still a foot of snow. And look at that, 10 inches of snow over in Columbus if the GFS is right. So what's going to happen? It's too early to say. Most likely, I'm going to say that the outcome is going to be somewhere in between these two extremes. And so at this point, we'll just have to keep watching to see what the models do. So I'll see you again, possibly tomorrow. Hope you like the video. Bye.